Sometimes when we make mistakes, it can be tempting to downplay it, to try to live through it and pretend like everything is fine. But the problem with doing that is the mistake lingers forever. The sooner you move on, fix it, redo it, the less mental load it has on you. There's so many little things that bog us down day to day. Things we procrastinate on, little tasks that have to get done, but they feel so daunting until you start. I really didn't want to have to redo this countertop, but it just wasn't right, and today I'm doing it. Once it's done, it will free up space in my mind. For those that don't know, I've layered this concrete over the original formica countertop rather than replace it. First I did a white feather finish and it looked great, but it got ruined by the tung oil sealer. Then I did a gray feather finish, but it was just far too dark. And now I'm redoing it yet again in a cement product I found that is just the right color. Little by little, I'm turning this house into my home, under a budget and with my own two hands. Okay, so the first coat's on. This has to dry overnight. And then tomorrow I'll put on the second coat and then we can get into some wet sanding with the diamond buffing pads. Hey guys, so it's the next day and I'm about to go over the first coat with the diamond polishing pads. So it's really not important to sand down the first coat too much because I'm going to put another coat on top. But there's a few spots that are quite a bit higher, so I'm just going to take a rougher grit and just go over it one time real quick with the polishing pads. And then I'll put on the second coat. And then after I do the second coat, that's when I'm gonna really take my time and sand it down with those diamond polishing pads. I'll show you what they look like in just a second. I've got to grab them from the studio. But let me show you closer up what this countertop is looking like after the first coat. It looks pretty rough, but now that I've already done this once before, I'm not too concerned because I know I can sand it back down. But actually what's interesting is this product that I'm using for this counter is actually Cement All. It's just a cement product. It's called Cement All. It's a lot rougher to sand because the other two concrete countertops I did was with it's called Feather Finish. And I could just sand those smooth with my regular sanding paper, just on like the orbital sander. But with this cement product, it's so hard that it just tears up regular sandpaper. I had to go and buy the diamond polishing pads. So when I first did this and I put the first coat on the other counter, I was like a little bit worried that it was so rough and I wasn't even able to sand it. It was just so hard. But yeah, luckily diamond polishing pads exist. So yeah, it's a quite different than a feather finish product. It's also harder to put on. The feather finishes were really like smooth to put on, very easy. Whereas this, just the consistency of it, it's a lot harder and it sets super, super fast. So you have to mix very, very small batches at a time and then just put it on the one little section. It starts to set within like minutes. So yeah, something to keep in mind. But let me show you closer up what the countertop is looking like. Okay, so here it is. Coverage is pretty good. There's a couple spots that I missed. You can see here in the corner. Here's the dark counter sticking through. Really difficult to do around the sink. This area just super hard to do, but yeah. And then if you're wondering about this hole, it's a cutout I made because eventually, yeah, it's for this dishwasher to be able to reach that plug when it sits there within the counter. But anyhow, so yeah, this is what it's looking like. Very, very rough texture, but not to be concerned. This is going to sand down nicely with the polishing pads. My goal for the second coat, so I'm gonna first knock off like some of the higher spots, and then my goal for the second coat is to just make sure that I have good coverage. See, you can see here where I missed a spot. And also I forgot to mention, but with the diamond polishing pads, I wet sand it. So I don't just do it, you can sand it dry, but the dust goes everywhere. It's so bad, it's so dusty. And it doesn't get as smooth. It works a lot better to either spray down the counter with water, or for me, I just take like a glass and basically like pour water on the counter to get it wet. And then what that also does, and I'll show you when I do it, is it creates like a slurry of the cement, like a mix, like a thinned out cement kind of mixes with the water and creates a slurry. I think that's what they call it. And then when you wipe that over the counter, it can fill in any of those little micro holes that do pop up when you're doing it. So it really does help to smoothen the counter out when you make it wet when you're sanding. Anyways, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to take Ocean on a walk first, and then we will jump right in. Exciting. This really doesn't take that long, this process. It's like 3 days, because you do the first coat on one day, you do the second coat the next day, you got to wait 24 hours for it to dry. Then you wait another 24 hours, then you do the polishing, and the polishing you can be done in one day, and then that's it. So it's like 3 days, and then you got to wait at least another day, and then you can put your sealer on. And someone in the comments recommended matte polyacrylic sealer. Thank you so much for that recommendation. Wait, what's your name? Yeah, Patrice 3333 in the comments mentioned that I try a polyacrylic in matte polyacrylic sealer. So I'm actually going to try that. I'll do a little test patch, and I'm excited about that because apparently it should give good coverage. So yeah, I think I might even create a test board of the cement and then put the sealer all on that and see how it looks. Okay, Ocean's walked. You can probably hear him panting in the background, but I just wanted to show you what these diamond sanding pads look like. Okay, here they are. And on this end, that's what it looks like as opposed to regular sandpaper. It's very durable. It feels like it's, hear that? Ocean, can you please be quiet, buddy? Please. Okay. Yeah. And then what I like about these, I just got these on Amazon. I can include the link below. It comes with an attachment to attach it to an angle grinder. And I tried that, but I found that the angle grinder was just the vibrations of it was so powerful. I couldn't even hold on. It was just, it fell in. And let me just let Oshi outside because he's wanting to go back out and he's breathing so loud. Oshi. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, so with the angle grinder, I found it was way too difficult to use because the vibrations of the angle grinder were very intense. So, but this side is like a Velcro, I guess, and it just literally just attaches to the bottom of the orbital sander. So if you just center it at the bottom and you hold it steady, make sure you hold it straight and don't let it kind of tilt out like that. Otherwise it can create gouges. And then you just take it off like that. So this set that I got, I think it was around $30 or $40 Canadian. It comes with all of the different coarseness levels up to from 30 to 3,000. And I did start down with 30 and found that useful. So yeah, what I did was I literally worked all the way up from 30. I don't think I used the 3,000 one. I think I went up to 2,000 because I wasn't going for like a super glossy kind of look, as you can tell. And I think if I would have sanded it on the 2,000, like if I would have sanded it longer on each increment going up, I could have got it way smoother than this, because I've seen some videos online where people use these and the surface looks like almost like glass, the concrete surface. But I wasn't going for that, so I didn't do that. But you can definitely achieve some pretty crazy results with these diamond pads. So for this first coat, I'm literally just gonna pop on the 50, take off the high, like do a quick kind of once over and take off any of the really high spots. That's it. And then I'm gonna add the second coat, and then once I add the second coat, I'm gonna start all the way down at 30, and I'm gonna slowly take my time, working my way up to 2000 until it looks good. So my lunch break is over. So I just wanted to give that little brief explanation, and now I'm back to work. And then tonight I'm gonna pop back on and get started on the polishing. I'm so excited for that. Really, really excited to get on with that. And other exciting news is I actually bought some vinyl floor tiles to redo the floor here. And I was, initially I was gonna wait and do like ceramic tile, but the more I was thinking about it, I want to give these vinyl tiles a try, because it's much more affordable, and the quality of the vinyl, the luxury vinyl tiles these days looks really, really good. And the one thing I like, I think I have vinyl tiles now, I'm pretty sure that's what these are. The thing I like about them is they're really durable against my dogs. And they're also really warm. They don't get as cold as like a ceramic or porcelain. Much more durable, they're not prone to cracking. And you know, I have like a big husky that's running through this room all the time. And then obviously way more affordable. So I figured, why don't I give this a try? I got black and white checkered, and I think it's gonna look really awesome in this room. So that's actually gonna be the next video, but that's why I really want to push through and get these countertops done, because I'm so excited for that. I ordered them, they haven't arrived yet. They'll be here, I think, in a week, so that should be the next video for sure. Anyways, okay. Back to work. See you in a bit. Okay, so that was it. That was a quick little wet sanding with the diamond polishing pads. And now I'm going to add the second coat. And then when that dries tomorrow, I'm going to spend a lot more time thoroughly sanding or polishing the concrete over in increments by grit level. Also, I went to the store and picked up the polyacrylic finish in a clear ultra flat. So I actually didn't know this existed because I was planning on getting the matte, but when I was there, I saw this clear ultra flat, which apparently has even less shine than the matte. So I'm gonna try this out, and I think this is gonna hopefully do the trick, but I haven't tested it yet. So I will do a test patch first before I put it on the whole counter. As I'm mixing up the second coat here, I'm just thinking, I don't think that counter is gonna need a full second coat like the first one did. The coverage looks really good. So I think what I'm gonna do is just focus on the sections that I think need another coat, but I'm not gonna put a whole second coat on the whole thing, because after I gave it that initial little sanding there, I'm seeing how it looks, and it's looking pretty good as it is. So I don't think I wanna play with that. To flatten out any drips. Okay, it's the next day and I'm all ready to full-blown wet sand this. I've got clothes on that I don't mind getting splattered, ear protection, and I'm just gonna put some gloves on because the cement really dries out the hands if you're not wearing gloves. So recommended gloves. And then I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna start at the 50 grit and work my way all the way up to 2000. So let's do it. Exciting. If you're sanding dry, you would definitely need a mask. I found with the wet sanding, a face mask is probably still recommended, but it really doesn't create any dust because it's just water, right? So it's more like a slurry, a slushy. So that's actually another perk of wet sanding. It is much easier to get through and then no dust. Just get all these little bits off here. So a spray bottle would probably be good. I don't have one. So I'm just using this. And then I'm just gonna spread it out with a rag. I'll focus on the base first, and then I will do that before I switch out the pad. Splash. It really soaks in the water like super fast. So if it soaks in too much water, you gotta add more because the surface has to have water. If it just soaks it all in and there's like nothing, it's not gonna create that like slurry. So yeah, too much water and it's gonna go flying everywhere when you're turn on the sander. So, okay. All right, let's start with this. So I just want to say I'm doing multiple passes on each grit level, and don't be intimidated with this because you can't really go wrong. Just visually look at it and see how it's looking. If it looks like it's smooth and it feels smooth, then you're good. And if you go over it too much and you end up removing a chunk and it's, you created a little indent or something, you just made this with concrete or cement, so you can just go ahead and add some more in. It's really like low risk. It's not like you purchased a big expensive stone and now you damaged it and can't do it. What's so cool about this is you can literally just mix up some more concrete and fill it in. And that same goes with staining, as you've seen with me, because I stained my white one and now I've got a new layer of concrete on top. And each layer is very thin. So this whole countertop is still relatively light compared to a solid concrete counter, and that's one thing I wanted because I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to permanently have concrete countertops, and I didn't want to struggle. Sorry, I'm crouching because my camera's tilted down, but I didn't want to struggle with having to like get these removed, these big heavy concrete countertops removed, because I didn't know like how long I was gonna have this for. But the layer of concrete that I've added each time is very thin. So, and the underneath of these is just the formica on top of like some wood board or something. So they're really not heavy. I've done I'm gonna just keep going through the grits. I'm not gonna show you all of that. Let me just skip ahead until I've finished with all this wet sanding because it's pretty messy work. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is for those hard to reach areas, like in here or anywhere that's kind of like too hard for the orbital sander to get, these polishing pads, you can just use them on their own without attaching them to anything like this manually. And they are bendable. So that's what I'm gonna do when I get in behind the faucet. You could also, like, removing this sink would have been a lot easier probably. Well, it would have been easier to sand, but it would have been harder in terms of, I really don't want to have to remove the sink, so that would have been worse. So I've left mine in, but if you don't mind plumbing stuff, then, I mean, if you're removing the sink would probably be easier in terms of that. Anyways, let me jump ahead to when this sanding is finished. Okay, so I'm all done with the wet sanding. So now all I'm gonna do is wait for this to dry. And then tonight there's a couple little spots I wanna touch up because I sanded a little bit too deep and you could see the darker counters coming through. So tonight I'm gonna just touch up those little spots, and then tomorrow I will be able to sand those touch-ups back down, and then we can get started on sealing this thing. That will have to happen after the counter is fully dry. So because if this was a poured concrete countertop, it would take like 30 days for it to set. But this product that I'm using, Cement All, it sets within hours. It sets super, super fast. That's why it can be a little bit trickier to apply because you have to get it on quick. And then also it's not a poured concrete surface. It's just a thin, very, very thin layer on top. So it really does not take long to dry out. So probably by 24 hours after I finish those touch-ups, I'll be able to start the sealing process. I'll just show you here a little bit closer. You can see where I sanded too deep there, so the darker counter is showing through. And that also gives you an idea of just how thin these layers of concrete are that I'm applying. It's quite thin. And yeah, it's wet, that's why it looks darker now. And you can see this is the color that it will dry. And once it's fully dry in this much lighter color, it'll be also much easier to see what spots need touching up. So tonight I will tend to that. And here I'm just showing you the result of the countertop with the polyacrylic, all 3 coats applied. As you can see, it did not change the color at all. It did give it a sheen, a velvety sheen. But honestly, that's sort of necessary to make something sealed because it has to be wipeable, and that makes things not stick to it. So I'm totally okay with that. Just trying to see if you can pick up the sheen on camera. Interestingly, like, this was ultra flat and it still has this sheen, so I'm so happy I didn't use the semi-gloss that I had laying around because this thing would have looked like plastic, I think, given the current sheen with the ultra flat. But yeah, super happy with that result, and thank you so much, Patrice, for recommending the polyacrylic in the comments, because that really was the missing piece that I was waiting on and really needed, so I truly appreciate that. Okay guys, so this countertop is done. I am ready to start sealing it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this sealer first. This is an impregnating sealer. So what it does is it penetrates down through the pores of the concrete and seals it up from the inside out, basically. So I found that this worked decent, but definitely not good enough on its own. I'm just doing this first step for added protection, and then I'm going to go in with the polyacrylic, which I already showed you because I did it on the second counter, which now is fully sealed and done, and it worked fabulously. So I'm going to do this tomorrow after this first one dries. So this one's so easy to put on. You literally just pour it on and then rub it in with a rag. Super easy. And it says that you can only do 1 coat of this. Actually, adding a second coat would potentially make it not work as well. It would make the product less effective. So this is just 1 coat, rub it on, then I'll wait 24 hours, and then I'll do the polyacrylic on top. This, if it wasn't a kitchen, I would I would consider only doing this bare sealer because it leaves such a nice finish. Like, you can't even tell that it's sealed, and it does protect it from water, but only if you wipe up the water right away. If you leave it sitting, then it like slowly penetrates in and then could create staining, right? So if it wasn't for a kitchen or a bathroom, if it was just for like a piece of furniture or something where it wasn't getting such heavy use, then I think that sealer would be great in and of itself. But for a kitchen, like a high, messy area, I just needed it to be fully sealed for sure. So yeah, okay, let's get in with this. I'm literally just gonna pour it on and rub it around. It's a little bit hard. I don't want it to splash everywhere, so let me just kind of do this. Okay. So yeah, you just rub it in, and you don't want to leave any puddles. So if there's puddles, you would wipe that off. But as you can see, it soaks up decent. Trying not to splash this all over the place. As you can see, the sealer's on. That's why the counters are dark. As the sealer dries, they will lighten back up to the original color. And then I'll apply the polyacrylic, and I'll spare you seeing that since you literally just saw it on the other counter. Feels like a really nice milestone that I'm finally at this point and can move on. And I'm really excited to jump into the floors, because that's going to be next. Yeah, and just really excited to move on from these counters and get into something else like gardening, because that's kind of what I'm all about right now. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.